What's up everybody, Tony here with iTech Check, and today we're going to be taking a look at a brand new smart lock that just entered the market. It's the Victure DL50. Now you can get this on Amazon right now. I will be putting links in the description below in case you guys want to pick one up yourself. And if you guys like me and you want to support my channel, please use those links because it helps me keep purchasing products to do reviews for you guys. Now this smart lock has the features you would expect a smart lock to have. It has keyless entry. It has an app that you can use to lock and unlock the door from your iOS or Android device. It also has a keyless touchpad, so if you don't want to use your app, you can always just type in a code to unlock and lock the door. The battery life seems to be pretty good on paper. It says it'll last about 300 days with 10 uses per day. Now you can probably extend that if you get some rechargeable batteries that have a higher capacity than a regular battery would, but only time will tell on that one. And then it also has an easy installation. You don't have to permanently affix this to your door if you don't want to. It comes with some 3M sticky adhesive, or if you really want to, you can mount it with some screws on your door for a more permanent fixture. And it also says that it's widely compatible with a lot of the doors locks that are already out there. And the really nice thing is you don't have to modify your existing locks at all. This takes advantage of your deadbolt that's already on your door. It kind of just sits over the lock and uses that to lock and unlock the door. So there is absolutely no modifications you need to do to your door to use this smart lock, which is a great feature. So I will be doing a full installation video and setup so you guys can see how easy it is to install and to use. So make sure you guys watch the whole video for all the details. But first, let's go ahead and see what you get inside the box. So here we have a little thank you card. It's got the little QR code for the app on it. Here we have our manual. Here's our guide that we're going to be using for the installation. Here's our accessory box. So it looks like there's some 3M adhesives in here and some clamps for different lock types. And then here's our screws with a little Allen key. So you really don't need any extra tools for this installation, which makes it that much easier. So here is the actual smart lock. It looks like it comes with an extra 3M adhesive just in case, which is always nice. Here is the metal bracket that we're going to affix to our door. It's also has 3M adhesive, so there's no screwing for this. Then here is the smart lock. It seems like it is made out of all plastic, but it's pretty sturdy. It doesn't feel cheap at all. At the bottom here, we have our little on-off button. And then here's our wireless keypad, which is the last thing in our box. Nothing's lit up, and that's pretty much what it looks like when it's not in use. It's totally black, and then when you touch it, all the keys come up on here. And then on the back here, we have the 3M adhesive. So again, you don't need to screw this onto your door. Now it feels like the outside here may be metal. It's nice and cool and smooth feeling, so that might be aluminum. And then there's the little spot for the batteries, and as you can see, this has a little rubber gasket on the outside here to keep moisture and everything from getting inside. Now the other really nice thing about this is it's wireless, so you don't need to mount it directly on your door. You can mount it pretty much anywhere you want as long as it's near the lock, so it's within distance to communicate. You might not even need to mount this outside if you really don't want to and you just want to use the app to unlock and lock your door, but at least it's a feature that's there if you want it. So before you do anything, whether it be on iOS or Android, you're going to want to go into your app store and download Gimdow. This is the app we're going to use to control the smart lock. Once that's installed, you're going to want to go ahead and create an account. Once the account is created, you're going to want to name whatever you want to name your app. And then we're going to go ahead and click on Install Smart Device. Pick the kind of lock you have. And then we're going to go through the tutorial on how to install the device. Okay, so the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to go ahead and put in 4 AA batteries into the smart lock itself. If we see the little switch down here, you see the battery compartment doesn't come off, but if we hit that little switch off to the right, we can take off the battery compartment, and that's where our batteries go. Okay, so the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure that your door lock smoothly locks and unlocks. Because if there's any snag, if you need to, push and pull your door to lock and unlock your door, the smart lock is not going to work properly. So you want your lock to smoothly lock and unlock by itself. So this is just a little tip from me. Victure doesn't recommend this. This is just something that I've learned from my experience, and that is putting down some packing tape over where the metal plate is going to be affixed with the 3M sticky tape, because if you ever have to remove this or you want to put a different lock on here, the 3M tape might take off some paint, and if the packing tape is down prior to you putting that 3M on there, it's going to be a lot easier to remove because you can just pull off the packing tape versus the 3M. So I just put a layer of tape on here, and then you leave like an overlap. It doesn't matter how long because you can always cut it later, and that'll give you like a little tip to pull off the adhesive if you need to remove this plate at all. So the next thing you're going to want to do for alignment is take your plate and take your little guide tool here, and then you're just going to put it over the top, aligning all the holes together, and then press it down onto the plate. So as you can see, it's pretty flush. And then you're going to remove your 3M adhesive on the back here, and then carefully line this up with your lock. Make sure it's up and down. And then when that's all aligned, you're going to press your plate against the wall and maybe hold it for 30 seconds, pressing hard to make sure it affixes very well. Now I'm a little OCD, and what I did is basically take the plate and the lock itself and put it on here and kind of see how well it worked with the placement that I had, and then I made an outline. So now I know I don't need to use the guide. I can just take the plate out and kind of line it up with the outline that I made, so I know exactly where it's supposed to go. But you don't need to do that. This is just an extra step that I did because I'm a little OCD. But you can just use the guide here, place this on here, make sure it's nice and level, and everything is lined up with your lock here, and that should be a perfect placement. So then once everything is all lined up, you're going to want to take off your little guide here and just press all around to make sure that it's sticking to your door nicely. So the next thing you're going to want to do is to make sure you get the right holder for the lock that you have, and that's this little thing in here. So it came with a couple different ones. There are a couple different ones that may work with my lock, and if you want to get them out of here, all you need to do is press up from the bottom. It'll pop out your top, and then as you can see, there's a little fitting inside. So for the type of lock that I have, you can use pretty much A or B. B is just a little deeper than A, but if you push A down a little further, it works just as well as B. But I'm going to be using B for this installation because I want more area to be inside the lock and covering my lock. So we're going to go ahead and use B. So here you have the lock without the fitting. So then you just take that, push this in here, and make sure it clips and it's even with the inside here. If you push even more, it goes down to the next level, but then that's too far. So we just want to make sure we have it pushed in so it's flush with the inside here. Then we'll go ahead and take our top, and as you can see, there's two little sides, two little notches, and we'll just press that back in there. So it's all set. So then once that's done, we'll go ahead and take our smart lock, we'll put it on the plate, we'll line it up with the lock, and then you can turn it a couple times to make sure everything is locking and unlocking smoothly, and it is. On each side here, there's a little hole for one of the screws. All the screws are all the same, so it doesn't matter which one you take. So we'll go ahead and put this on the plate, and then we'll screw in our little screws on the side. So what you want to do is you want to start the screw on one side, and then don't tighten it up all the way, and then start the other screw on the other side. That way you make sure that the holes line up properly. Okay, so once we have that all installed, we're going to go ahead and put our battery cover back onto the top here, and then push that little latch off to the right. Okay, and now we go back to the app. Okay, so now it wants us to turn the knob for pairing. Okay, it recognized it. Name your smart lock. Okay, so now it wants us to open the door. You can see the lock there. Okay, it locked and it unlocked. So it is calibrated. Okay, so here's the app. I'm gonna go ahead and lock the door. 3, 2, 1. And we'll go ahead and unlock. Beautiful, working perfectly. Okay, so we'll go into devices. We can see our back door here. We'll go into mine, account security. You can set a password to get into the app. Go back to home. Virtual keys. So if you want to share this with somebody, you can share this with pretty much anyone you want. And you'll give them access to your door with the virtual key using their phone. Here we have our entry log. As you can see, the door was opened and closed. Accessories. And then this is where we add our keypad. So now we have to install our batteries into the keypad. Okay, so now that our batteries are installed, we're going to go ahead and put the locking screw into the bottom there. This screw is in there, all nice and secured. Okay, so now we go back to our app. Everything's installed, and now if you want to put it wherever you'd like, you can just pull off the 3M adhesive and place it wherever you like. We'll go to the next step. So it wants us to use our finger to wake up the pad. There you go. Go to next. Please put the keypad and mobile phone close to the lock, which it is. Okay, so for that, you just want to make sure that the keypad is lit up when it's pairing, because if it's not, it won't pair up. And then this is where we're going to set our password. And as you can see, there is a firmware update. So we'll do that now. So there is an option in here to lock without password. And basically what that does is allow you to use the keypad to lock the lock without putting in a password. So all we need to do is wake up the keypad here and hit lock, and it locks without putting in a password. But if you want to unlock, you still need to put in that password. So let's go back into our settings here. It shows the battery level of the door lock itself. You can calibrate it. It also has settings for special situations, where the first one is unlock more, and this setting would most likely make the lock continue to try to unlock if the Gimdao cannot unlock the door normally. Then the second one, whereas hold on retracted, this is more for locks that are spring actuated. So there are some locks where if you don't hold the lock, it kind of springs back and locks. These are mostly used over in Europe, and this would hold the lock open longer after you unlock the door. Then if you look up at the top of the app, you can see that there is a battery icon. This is to let you know how much battery life is left in your lock and your keypad. Now if this ever goes low, the keypad or the smart lock will start to beep to let you know that it's time to change the batteries. And then there's also a firmware upgrade for the lock itself. So another thing, if you have a door that has a double lock, you're obviously going to want to make sure that the double lock is unlocked, or you're not going to be able to unlock the door from the outside. And then to distribute virtual keys, you'd hit the virtual key button. You go ahead and type in the email address of the person you want to give the key to. You're going to go ahead and name the visitor's name. You can select their identity as visitor or member. You can set a time that the key will be valid. And you can also set a notification for when the lock is actually actuated. Select Let's Issue and you're done. Then as far as setting up the guest account, they do the same things that the owner would do. They would have to go in, download the app, register for their account, and then once the account was finished being set up and you get into the actual app itself, it recognizes that you have sent them a virtual key and it doesn't give them full control over your lock. It only gives them the ability to really unlock and lock the door. As you can see, most of the features are missing. You also don't have to worry about how secure the door lock is, also because it uses 128-bit encryption. And if there are some of you out there that are wondering if the 3M adhesive does a good job of securing this, this is not going anywhere. It is on there really good, nice and tight and solid, so I really wouldn't worry too much about that. Okay, so here we have the keypad right here, and the lock is all the way over there. I want to see if you can still use the keypad even if it's not right next to the door. So I'm going to go ahead and wake up the keypad, put in my code. I'm going to go ahead and hit the unlock button. And as you can see, it still worked. So you don't have to necessarily have this right next to the door. You can have it over, this far away. It's probably about 7 or 8 feet away. It just has to be within a Bluetooth range. Okay, so we are probably about, I'd say maybe 10, 12 feet away from the door lock here, and I still have the keypad. So we're going to go ahead and lock the door and see if it still works. As you can see, it still works even this far away. And then here I just kind of wanted to push the limits of how far I could go. I'm at about 30 feet, and as you can see, it still unlocks the door. So now as far as the mounting of the keypad, you actually have 3 different options for mounting. 2 Victure has offered you. One is with the screws to permanently mount this to whatever you need to. 2 is to use the 3M adhesive to permanently attach this to whatever you want. And 3 is something that I came up with. If you have a metal door that magnets will stick to, you can also get a little magnetic disc, put some 3M adhesive tape on it, stick it to the back of here, and then you can take your keypad and affix it to your door. And then if you need to move it, or if you want to move it somewhere, you just take it off and put it wherever else you want. I've also placed a piece of tape here on my door to protect my paint from, possibly getting scratched up. So you just take the tape there, put your keypad on your door, and you're good to go. So the lock actually has an anti-peep feature, and basically what that does is allow you to put in your real code without anybody actually knowing what your real code is. So you can put up to a 15-digit code in here. So if I punch in 9 digits before that, and then put in my actual code, it'll still allow me to unlock that door, and nobody will have known what my actual code was. And then this is what the keypad looks like all lit up at night. And then here I just wanted to show you that I was able to walk as far away from the door lock as I could, and I was still able to use the app to lock and unlock the door. Now I did come across a situation where I thought my door was totally closed, and when I hit the lock button on the app, it said that the Gimdao actually locked, when in reality the locking mechanism didn't engage all the way, but it still said that the door had been locked. So the Gimdao cannot tell you whether or not there was a jam or there was a malfunction with the lock. There is the potential that you will hit lock on the app. The lock will not actually engage, but you won't know because all it can say is the door is locked or unlocked, regardless of it if it actually engaged or not. So there definitely are a lot of good things about this lock, and there are a couple cons. First, we'll go over the pros. The first thing is the fact that it uses your existing hardware. You don't have to remove anything. You don't have to change anything. This very easily goes over your original lock, and it works perfectly. You don't need any tools. Everything that you need to install comes inside the box, and it's definitely a huge plus, and it makes it much easier to install. And the fact that it uses your original hardware and doesn't cover anything, you can still use your key to unlock the door very easily. So if the lock is malfunctioning or the batteries happen to die, you know you can always use your original key to unlock the door if you really need to. The app is really easy to use. It's not overly complicated, and it seemed to work beautifully. Every time I've used it inside my house, pretty much anywhere in my home, which is about 1,900 square feet, it unlocked and locked the door without any issue. So the Bluetooth range definitely is good. And even though the parts are made of plastic, it did seem pretty sturdy. It didn't feel cheap at all. I didn't feel like it wasn't going to work at any point. And as you saw in the video, it seemed pretty solidly seated on my door, and it wasn't going to go anywhere. So I'm pretty confident you don't have to worry about the build quality. Now, as far as the cons go, it doesn't have an auto lock feature. Now, this is something I'm sure that they can fix with some sort of software update. When you leave your home, you definitely need to make sure that you lock the door because it doesn't have that auto lock feature. The next thing is the fact that it doesn't have any remote capability. So if you're away from your home or you're out of Bluetooth range, you're not going to be able to lock and unlock your door. That might not be a huge deal. It's just something I wanted to let you know that it didn't have. And then the last con, which is kind of the more important thing, is the fact that the lock is unable to tell you whether or not it actually truly locked or not. When you hit the lock button on the device, if it jams or anything like that, it's going to just tell you that the door locked, but you really don't know. And that's my biggest concern. So again, it's super important that you make sure that your door easily locks, and it pretty much does it all the time. And if you have a special case, kind of like some people might, where you need to kind of push the door in and then lock the door for it to engage, you need to make sure that you take care of that before you put this lock on, because it's going to have trouble locking if you don't. But that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that little notification bell to let you guys know when I put out new videos. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.